Hello, I am joined by Darrell Swanson, the director of Swanson Aviation. How are you, Darrell?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm very well. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
So the last time you spoke to FIM was in 2019, and we are wondering how progress is going with the recent distribution of the aviation model.
Right, so the distributed aviation paper that we produced with ADS, actually we've had amazing response from the public about that. The phrase distributed aviation seems to be creeping into the vocabulary when we're talking about advanced air mobility, and I'm actually quite humbled that that's actually happening. So things are progressing along and people are understanding the message of it, and of course the key output of that is it naturally leads to a regional air mobility model, and I was really happy to see that NASA had produced their paper on the same day which talks about regional air mobility. So distributed aviation naturally leads to regional air mobility, and people are really picking up on that.
And what are the benefits of the model for the environment and for the public?
Distributed aviation talks about what are the economics of electric aviation and what happens within that space. So a few things happen where everybody wins in this model. So in a distributed aviation model, what happens is that you start getting aircraft services, electric aircraft services from smaller airfields that are actually closer to passengers' origins and destinations. So they win because they're not having to travel for miles and miles to a big hub airport. The environment wins because they're on aircraft which are operating electrically, so reduced carbon impact. The small airports win because they're getting much needed traffic that they wouldn't otherwise have. But some people think that the large airports would lose and that they're losing some traffic, but actually they gain because they're getting very valuable runway slots back to them, which they can put onto long-haul international flights. So they win in terms of increasing their business, but also the country wins. So UK PLC in that example gets more long-haul international destinations, and that just contributes right back to the economy. Everybody wins in a distributed aviation circle.
And are you getting help, or are you seeing progress in terms of economics helping to aid the rollout of electric aircraft?
So I think what's really interesting since 2019, we've had the UKRI, the Future Flight program coming in, providing investment into the industry, looking at the systems of systems to make it work. I'm currently on a Skybus project right now led by GKN Aerospace, supported by Pascal M. Watson and the CPC. So we're looking at a concept for these vehicles. We've been looking at the economics of it, the use cases. So we're starting to see that money come in. Internationally, there are well over 600 concepts out there for a eVTOL aircraft. We're seeing OEMs in the US and in the UK floating on the stock exchange. So Vertical Aerospace recently from the UK here, they've floated, they've raised a lot of money for it, so there's a lot of money flowing into it. But equally we're also seeing the interest from the airlines, which is absolutely amazing. So we're getting airlines buying these. But what's really amazing is that the aircraft lessors are starting to buy these aircraft. We're seeing Avalon, based out of Ireland. They bought 500 VAX4 from Vertical Aerospace, and they've placed them all already, which I think is absolutely amazing. So it is happening. We're getting there.
Okay, that sounds positive. So in 2019, you mentioned some of the biggest hurdles to overcome were planning policy and legislation. Have you seen any movement in this area?
Sadly, no. The UK still lacks the national planning policy that would allow local authorities to assess a vertiport application. So that's actually one of the bigger barriers. So infrastructure is the secret bottleneck, and that was said actually back in 2018 by Airbus. It was recognized that we really need to unplug all of this, because unless we can solve the infrastructure equation, we're going to have a lot of vehicles in the air and they just can't land anywhere, so we may as well go home. So we still have that to sort out, but we are seeing good movements in terms of the FAA, EASA, and the CAA are really making progress in terms of putting in the right pathways and legislation and rules to allow for certification of the vehicles, but also for the operation of potential and future vertiports. So we're starting to see that. We just need the government to catch up in terms of the planning legislation to support the real investment in it. But we are going to see something happening in Coventry very soon with the urban airports vertiport. So that's going to be a really interesting one that happens a little later this year.
Okay, so there's still some progress to be made in that area. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about?
Well, I think keep an eye out for a little piece of work that we've been doing for UKRI under the Future Flight banner. So we've assessed 20 potential routes across the UK. 14 of them are for fixed-wing electric aircraft, 6 of them are for eVTOL aircraft. So we've done a detailed route economic analysis of that and schedules for it. So we know that for those 20 aircraft routes, we need 244 aircraft, which is huge. And out of that, we have huge amounts of revenue being generated, and of course, that's going to create new jobs and new economic opportunities. It talks about the economic spin-off effect, so we're saving people hundreds of thousands of hours on an annual basis, and that has a real value, so you can put that extra time back into the economy, and that's actually realized as a real number because people are more productive. And then, of course, there's all the carbon emission savings. So the whole idea of the report is to actually, hopefully, tease government into spending more money on investing in the advanced air mobility field. So keep an eye out for that because it will be coming out just prior to the Farnborough International Airport show.
I like that, tease government, that's brilliant. And what do the skies of 2035 look like to you?
Hopefully a lot bluer, a lot greener, and a lot quieter. I'm really hoping by that time, and we're really starting to see electric aircraft making their debut at that time in volume, that people aren't going to be looking up to see the noise, but or to listen to the noise because they're being disturbed, but not actually noticing that the aircraft are there. I'm hopeful that we'll start to see the beginnings of a distributed aviation system, and I'm also hopeful that we'll see the development of electric low-cost carriers. So this is an output of a distributed aviation system in that naturally you're going to get that price competition increasing and increasing, and then eventually you'll get the ELCCs, or electric low-cost carriers, evolving as a natural consequence of a distributed aviation system.
Brilliant. Thank you for your time, Darrell.
Thank you.